Da- Tá confundido, eu convido vocês. Sabe, para ficar gravado, sabe? A gente senta. É mais um podcast, excelente qualquer coisa. Aqui é um podcast, né? Ok. Channel 27. Estão me ouvindo bem? Estão me ouvindo? Okay. You listen to me? Great. Welcome everyone from IDFC community. We have here today a panel on marine ecosystem role in the climate agenda. This is a cooperation among BNDES and other institutions present with us today. I would like to make some brief remarks before I start and introduce the panelists. Finance nature is of great importance, and this is not different than marine environment. Although this importance is already acknowledged by private, public, and from the third sector institutions, there's a lack of understanding of the extension of this importance. The ocean acts as a carbon sink and absorbs roughly 30% of human-produced CO2 emissions, according to National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. CO2 absorption leads to acidification of the oceans, which threatens the fundamental chemical balance of the ocean and coastal waters across the globe. To face this challenge, we must bring together public and private sectors, financial institutions, and count on valuable inputs from the academic community. To discuss this very important topic today, we have here representatives from the Brazilian government, from the academic community, and from the Brazilian Development Bank. Allow me to introduce our panelists today. We have with us Leandro Pedron, who is the Director of Thematic Programs at Brazilian Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation. Leandro is a multidisciplinary professional with degrees in pharmacy and law, and specialization in intellectual property as well. He leads national R&D programs across ocean and Antarctic science, biotechnology, bioeconomy, and health. His work focuses on innovation-driven public policy, transforming scientific knowledge into social economic impact through evidence-based programs and partnerships. We also have here with us today Alexander Turra. Alexander is a professor at the Oceanography Institute of the University of São Paulo, and he is a coordinator of UNESCO Chair for Ocean Sustainability. Finally, we have here today my dear colleague from BNDES, Rodrigo Tosta. Rodrigo holds a certificate in environmental management from the University of São Paulo and a master's degree in sustainable finance, and Rodrigo now is working at the environmental division of BNDES with cross-cutting agendas, including blue economy. Well, we are going to have a first round of questions that apply for our three guests today. Each one will have 5 to 7 minutes to make their remarks. And then we'd have a second round of questions afterwards. So I will start with Leandro. How does the country, Brazil, approach the marine ecosystem's importance on the climate agenda?
Thank you. Can you hear me well? So listening? Okay. So thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation to be here, for the kind invitation regarding to the BNDS that invited us. So thank you. As you mentioned, the real importance of the ocean to the climate agenda, it's quite clear. We now see that 70% of all of the surface on the earth is covered by the earth, is the ocean. So it's the mainly capture of the carbon and that absorbs the heat in the planet. So it's the huge massive water that comes around that has been made possible that some response to the climate change all happens now. So the ocean has been observed heat since a long time ago. And even though when we talk about the SDG agenda, specifically in the SDG 14, is the SDG that he's received less finance, less money. So what is important, I think everyone here at the table already has this connection, the real importance of the ocean and how we bring the ocean to the topic of the agenda and the main attitudes, specifically what the ministry has been doing itself. So it also connects to the ocean decade, the United Nations Ocean for Sustainability of Science Ocean. So the Ocean Decade Conference that will be established since 2021 until 2030. So this is what the ministry as the focal point for the IOC, that is who is re responsible for coordinating the Ocean Decade. In the ministry is the chair that represents Brazil's there. So we have been working a lot on this agenda. And when I mean that we are working a lot, that we have been driving the money for this agenda. So we had several public calls in the last few years, and now we're working on other public calls regarding on that. But mainly in the priorities that have been discussed in the Ocean Decade and connections with the academy itself. So we still need to make even easier to the broad community to understand their connections to the ocean, because it won't be possible to make a huge difference if the people doesn't understand their connections to the ocean. So this is why the ministry has been working very hard with the ocean literacy to use these tools to make the people to connect themselves, to understand their connection to the oceans. And once their connection is established, it made possible that every attitude can be changed, the cultural behavior can be changed, and we can move forward to understand even better the connection of the oceans, and then to promote all of the results, the objective results that ocean decade established since a resilient ocean, uh, healthy ocean, and then so far.
Great, great, Leandro. Thank you so much. I think it's a very interesting public policy, and I hope that the public calls could bring the population and the people with bring this connection, as you mentioned, so they can understand and they can put the ocean and the marine systems in high priority in developing the government in public policy and tools. Now, I would like to move forward to Alexander. So, Alexander, it's the same question. How do you can you share with us your perceptions and the Brazilian approach to this such relevant agenda?
Yes, I work at the University of São Paulo. Tá chiando um pouquinho de vocês, está também? Um pouquinho.
Quer trocar?
Vou trocar.
Let's change. I'm going to change the headsets here. Is it better?
Oi.
Is it better now? Is it?
Oi. Melhorou. So, the UNESCO Chair for Ocean Sustainability was created in the University of São Paulo, which is the most relevant node of an ecosystem of innovation of the ecosystem of innovation that has the best reputation in the South Hemisphere. So this ecosystem of innovation integrates the University of São Paulo, several other universities in São Paulo, federal institutions like the National Institute for Space Science, and hospitals and several types of institutions that produce science and that look for innovative approaches. So the UNESCO chair was created to be a hub, to be a boundary organization, a think tank, integrating different stakeholders, and to promote the international agenda of the ocean within Brazil and to share what Brazil is doing abroad. The UNESCO chair is trying to put in practice its vision and its mission, considering 7 different axes. One of these axes has to do with innovation. In December last year, we created in the University of São Paulo, within the UNESCO chair, the Center of Excellence in Ocean Innovation and Transformative Technologies of the Organization of the American States, trying to connect science with action, science with companies, science with entrepreneurship. So this is being exercised in the university, and day after day, we are trying to include the ocean. I have been talking with different stakeholders, especially from the private sector, and I always make a question to them. I ask about the shades of blue, which shade of blue the company has. And the shade of blue is the dependence of or the relationship of a given company with the ocean. So if it depends on resources, if it depends to deliver products like navigation, if the ocean brings some risk to the activity, and we are finding different ways to express the ocean or to see the ocean in different companies. So it's a kind of pedagogic process that we do it together. It's a co-development approach. So we understand it together. And it's interesting also that the UNESCO chair is organizing the biggest ocean literacy meeting in the world, which is the São Paulo Ocean Week and the Rio Ocean Week. And in these meetings, we have a section dedicated to blue economy, to sustainable ocean economy. And in these initiatives, we had the launching of the Ilha Hub, which is the hub of innovation for a sustainable ocean economy in Brazil. And after that, we have this group, the Ilha Hub, coordinating a series of business rooms, conversations to establish value chains, integrating Sebrae, which is a very important partner in Brazil, integrating BNDES, which is also an important hub. And to finalize, I have the opportunity to be in Monaco for the Blue Economy and Finance Forum. And I think this is a fantastic approach. This is a fantastic process and moment where I saw the potential of investment that we have to invest in innovation, to invest in entrepreneurship, to invest in companies, in business related to the ocean. And this is not for philanthropy. This is because we have an estimate of $15.5 trillion of returns of investment up to 2050. So it's a very nice way to make money, to make business, and to make money and business associated to the process to change what's going on, to work on nature-based solutions in a way we walk together hand in hand with nature to change the reality of the ocean and of the planet. So good opportunities to do the right thing for the right reason.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Alexander, for sharing your views. We just heard some comments from the government, some comments from the academic. Alexander just shared with us some views and some positions of UNESCO chair, and some discussions that are being taken right now on the team. Uh, we are going still in a more strategic way, I would say, and into the financial institutions. I think in the next round of questions, we are going to discuss a little bit more of the investments themselves. But now I would like to hear from Rodrigo. If you could share with us how is the marine ecosystems and all the support needed in terms of financial programs are embedded in BNDES environmental strategies.
Thank you, Leonardo. Good afternoon, everyone. Just would like first to thanks to IDFC to sharing this space with us here for this panel. Well, BNDES has been working with the environmental agenda for quite a long time. Since 1992, It's the first division, environmental division at BNDES, was designed back there at Rio 92. And well, we have been advancing on this agenda, and in the last couple of years, we dedicated a lot of effort to the blue economy agenda, launching the Blue BNDES program. I like to call it a program, but it's more than that. It's not only a program, it's not a financial instrument. It's another way, a new way to think of the strategic view for the blue economy. So it's something that we are trying to push the market, to push the institutions to look to this agenda carefully, very carefully, because it's very important. You mentioned in on the opening remarks, Leonardo, about the acidification of the oceans and the carbon sink that the ocean plays the role as a carbon sink on the climate agenda. So we need to take care of this and to prevent the ocean from turning the tipping point that we do have at the Amazon, and we will have that the same thing at the ocean. So we know that the ocean is vital for the economy, and especially in Brazil, where more than half of our population lives within 150 kilometers from the coastal line. So many people relies on oceanic resources, live by the ocean, need to have a clean environment for them. So this is all important for our livelihood here in Brazil. So when we launched the Blue BNDES initiative, we started supporting, for example, the marine spatial planning. That's the first step towards using the ocean resources in a sustainable way. That's the how to and where to do anything, any economic activity at the ocean. And that also has an impact on the coastal population, because when you explore the ocean, you will be creating impact for them. You need to mitigate that. You need to compensate that. So the marine spatial planning will have that, all the kind of activities there. BNDES has supported a couple of initiatives on the conservation side, trying to help to explore the ocean in a sustainable way. We supported mangrove restorations, 8 projects, over 47 million reais, roughly 10 million US dollars, a little bit less than that. We launched a public call for coral reef conservation, 12 projects, 176 million reais. And most recently, we launched an initiative to restore Brazilian oceanic islands, called BNDES Islands of the Future, up to 8 million reais. That was said about bringing the money to the table. We need to show that the private sector can make profit by exploring on a sustainable way the marine resources, the oceanic resources. So I think that's where a financial institution, especially a development bank, can help foster the blue agenda, not only in Brazil, but throughout all over the world.
Thank you so much, Rodrigo. You have been sharing with us the experience of BNDES and the recent developments on the marine systems agenda of BNDES, the latest financial products launched by BNDES. But I think, despite of the importance that we recognize at this table of marine systems importance, UNESCO data shows that SDG 14, which is life below water, is one of the receives the least support, financial support. So there are interesting initiatives and very important initiatives, disruptive, just like the NDS, not only in the financing, but also in the technical side, financing the mapping and so on. But I would like to hear from you that we face many challenges to foster investments, particularly the private investments. So, in your opinion, this is an open question for our panelists here. What is needed to increase the investments in the oceans? So, yeah, Leandro, you can start.
I'll talk from perspective being in the government, not connected to the private sector or academy as well. But yes, I see that the private sector itself still don't see the quite clear connection and that is a quite profit way to invest and have the money back when you invest in the ocean. And regarding the ocean, we see talking about the blue economy as a huge area of investments. So just before going to your questions, I forgot to mention that the ministry itself is responsible for structuring the blue economy, the national blue economy strategy in Brazil. And why the Ministry of Science Technology doing that? Because when we talk about the blue economy, we have several interests on that, and the science can be transversal on. So the ministry responsible for building the strategy and is doing so connecting to the several actors in the process that has been permitted to everyone to talk and will be a long process as well because even the concept of blue economy is not closed. So and connecting to that, the private sector, I think, still don't understand the concept of it or the importance of it or the connection to that. And when we talk about connections to the ocean, that's why the ministry is investing so much effort and money in the ocean literacy to make everyone to understand their connection to the ocean. So every sector needs in or will lead in somehow their connection to the ocean. Even if they're producing in land, they will need to export, they will need the sea, or the impact that we will need from that when you talk about the agriculture sector in Brazil, you need the rain that comes from the evaporation of the sea and so on. So it's all connected. When you see and you look to the ocean, you understand their connection, it made easier to drive in the money. And the blue economy, as they all mentioned here, is a sector that can bring money back. So I think that's what needs to be done is to make that connection come clear to the everyone to understand that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Leandro. I would like now to move to Alexander. You mentioned in the first round of questions that trillions of US dollars could be originated by these investments in oceans and the blue economy. How do you see? How can we foster investments from your perspective, the academic perspective?
Oh, yeah. As Leandro said, we need to have a policy, and we are building this as a country. Internationally, we have some support. For example, the Ocean Decade, the United Nations Ocean the Decade on Ocean Science for Sustainable Development has seven specific goals. One of these goals is a productive and sustainably used ocean. So it, it's a it's a kind of mandate. It's a kind of push of support that we have to think about that. And when you look at a very interesting concept, which is ocean health, there are several definitions. One of these definitions is based on the quality of the environment, which is more related to health, the quality, but also how it's used. So the ideal situation is to have a healthy environment that's being used and delivering benefits. This is quite new. We are talking about that in the last 20 years, 15 years, and exercising this. So when you approach a company in Brazil, for example, and you ask about the relationship the company has to the ocean, most of the times the company doesn't know, even if it has. And this makes the company a little bit blind to opportunities to invest and to capitalize based on the ocean. So I think we need a pedagogic process that's done within universities, and then we have to have a good relationship with Ministry of Science Technology and Ministry of Education, because we are talking about education and science at the same time. But it's not the normal science we normally do in the university. It's that, but with some additional approaches directing the students to think about technology and innovation. Of course, in the engineering school, it's the daily life. But in the oceanographic school, this is not the daily life. So we have a huge space or a huge opportunity because we have an army of people that can understand that they can have a job, that they can have a salary, that they can have, have a viable life, personal and professional one, considering entrepreneurship or innovation. And then we need to have strategies so that we inoculate this very early in the life, in the academic life of students in the university. And then, as we are doing now in the University of São Paulo, we are creating a professional master to work on solutions. It's not to publish papers. We are not going for that. We are going for solutions. So it's a fast master for government, for companies, for NGOs to find solutions and deliver. So capacity building, I think we could aggregate to what Leandro said as a strategy.
Thank you so much, Alexander. It's very nice to hear that this program is being developed. We saw many examples of, in the past, such professional masters in several fields of environment being implemented to tackle one particular sector or issue. But it's very good to hear that you are implementing this now. Well, let's move to the development banks again. Rodrigo, in your opinion, uh, what could what incentives could foster the investments in Brazil, and how BNDES is has passion on this?
Thank you, Leo. Well, I think that not only the incentives, I think that there are a few things that we need to improve in the financial sector. And it's pretty much the same thing that we face, for example, on the restoration efforts that we have. We need to have a taxonomy. We need to have standards. People can compare between the initiatives, and that will bring the investors to the table. When they find out that this is valuable, holds value, when they find out that they can compare throughout projects and see this one is the one that will be more profitable for me, we need that money from the private sector. Of course, the public funding will not be enough to all the needs on the blue economy agenda. So we need to show the market the potential of the blue economy. Also, we need to improve, to build the capacity within our institutions. When people receive a project in blue economy, I guess that there are like two reactions. I'm not going to do anything with that, because if I do something and that it goes well, people will say that's just a small part from our business here. And if it goes wrong, someone will ask, who is the crazy people who try to make business with that? So we need to bring that knowledge within the financial institutions. That's why the academy is so important. To bring the technical support for the financial institutions to learn on how to assess blue economy projects, conservation projects, and see, like we have on the green economy. I don't like the economy term, but we can use that right now for restoration, for sustainable management of forests, for concessions. We've been through this a few years ago on the forest sector. It's pretty much the same thing that we will face on the blue economy. So we know what we need to do to bring that agenda inside the financial institutions. We have the funding, but we need to know how to use that and to see how important it is to do that in the blue economy agenda.
Thank you so much. I will now just change a little bit the order of our conversation here. And just before advancing to the next steps, I would like to drop a question for you. How do you see international experiences? Which ones could be a benchmark or comparable? And particularly linked with public financial support? Do you have any examples for sharing with us?
I start. Yes. Do you know, one day my dear friend Luis Pazos, which is a friend of us, you know also Luis Pazos. So Luis is probably seeing us. Um, he asked me about what would be the possibilities or the strategies to put companies and academics together in university. And then that made me start to think about how to create moments and spaces to promote this connection. We are doing that in the Ocean Weeks. It's not being done, but I think we need another approach. And these approaches depend on different institutions. For example, the São Paulo State Research Council, FAPESP. FAPESP has two big programs dedicated to innovation in dialogue with companies. And we have the program dedicated to the ocean, which I coordinate. FAPESP is big, it's complex, but now we are making internal movements so that these two programs get together. In a way, we will be able to launch calls focused on innovation, on bringing academics close to companies so that the university and the companies will produce something that is applicable in the short term. And 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 then these catalysts, no, the FAPESP is a catalyst. The university is a catalyst. BNDES is a catalyst. For example, the BNDES garage. I don't remember that you mentioned that before, but I think this is a good example because you are thinking about the tiny entrepreneurs, tiny business that need to be supported because not we don't need necessarily big amount of money. There's several business that need a kind of city money to do that. And then if you understand and identify these catalysts, we perhaps have a good chance to promote, to energize, to ignite the system, the ecosystem in a way it will work better. So this is my contribution.
I think instead of looking to do a benchmark to look of the Brazil to look inside of the Brazil, as Tua was saying, we have our national bank with BNDES Blue already founding finance that. We have the ministry, all of the ministry aspects, like could be called the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Industry, the Ministry of Science and Technology, working at the new Nova Indústria Brasil, the new Brazil plan for industry. I don't know how to translate specifically that could drive in that direction. So that it already is connecting the sustainable development because all of the ministries regarding the agenda are working together. So I think we have, and that's why when you look globally, the Brazil is having some leadership in the agenda, the oceanic agenda. So I think that's a effort that has been doing from several actors, work to the same, going the same pathway with the same goal. We are visualizing the same goal at the end.
Rodrigo.
So just to pick up something that Tua mentioned here about the Index Garage, uh, sometimes more than money, these small companies, these entrepreneurs, they need technical assistance. They need support to develop their business and on opening some dialogue channel with other companies, with bigger companies that can sometimes buy their own business or can help them with more money in the future. That's something that's very interesting. I was forgetting to mention that and glad to mention about it. Uh, I think that we have seen, moving to your question, uh, we have seen a lot of effort on that in France. Tua knows better than me about the international initiative. I guess France is one of the more advanced on that. But I think that we are on a good way here in Brazil. BNDES is trying to push this agenda. And I think that this is going to help other banks. And I like the well, I'm missing the word here in English, but that make with BNDES being an aircraft carrier. It takes a long time for us to change our course, but when we change, we bring with us a lot of ships. So I think that's what we need to do as a national bank. We need to move to the right direction and bring everyone with us. I think that's what we're trying to do the past years here.
Wonderful. Not-
No, when you said, I started to think about the Blue BNDES program because this is a brand. Nah? It's a program with a very clear focus. This is a Brazilian movement. I would say that BNDES should showcase Blue BNDES to the other national banks. In a way, the other national, because there is an association of national banks, so that every national bank has its blue program. And this will be nice because in the next Blue Economy and Finance Forum, we may have a session dedicated to blue economy and to see what these banks are doing following the example of BNDES, because we are an example as a country in that regard.
That's a wonderful idea. Already accepted and will be adopted. This is a recommendation for our IDFC friends. Well, for our last round of comments now, I would like to pose a question on the next steps. How the government, the academy, development institution, BNDES particularly, uh, what are the next steps for the pivot policy, the challenges? Leandro.
Several. When you ask about next steps, well, I think that yes, but to keep it simple, I think that now we're gonna. I think that one step that has been huge importance here, the COP, is to see several space talking about the ocean. So this is an important mark. This is as Turas, I think we talked 2 or 3 days ago. This is the COP of the ocean. So yes, I think that's already is a huge step. The next step regarding to keep the ocean in the focus is that to have ocean being in the negotiation of the COP the next year. This is one goal. But what this brings together, keep it simple, to bring all of the ecosystems around together. Think about that is a sustainable way of the future. Ocean is a sustainable way to the economy and all of the ecosystems growing around. So I think we are start to collect the results in the next steps because all of the efforts have already have been done until now.
Wonderful. Alexander, no, but Rodrigo.
I think that Lance mentioned something about the policies and those next steps. But I think that on the financial institutions, and I really like your suggestion. We're going to duly noted to talk to our IDFC friends. I think that cooperation between the financial institutions will be the next step on this agenda. It's not only BNDES is doing that in Brazil. Okay, let's see what we are doing here that can be replicated on countries, in other countries, and see if that's possible for them to use the same tools that we use. And if not, what they can change. And we can learn from them as well in the future. So I think that's it. The cooperation agenda will be fundamental for the financial issues in the future.
Exactly. But it's important. We say in Portuguese, I don't know how to say that in English. We say in Portuguese que santo de casa não faz milagre, né? The saint that's from our home doesn't make miracles. It's the worst translation possible on earth. But that's the point. Sometimes we need to be motivated from abroad. We have to have an ad hoc incentive. COP, the COPs, not only biodiversity and climate and the other COPs, they give us a kind of incentive, the ad hoc mandate. So you need to do that. You must to do that. Now the ocean, we are talking about the ocean. The ocean is in the action agenda of the climate COP. So the ocean is being considered, as Leandro said, we are in the ocean COP, the COP of the ocean. Peter Thompson just had that in a different panel. If Peter Thompson said that, it's law. But the point is that if you have an action agenda that considers that actions in the ocean are helpful to face the climate crisis, we need to do that. And this is not necessarily a sink of money. It could be a generated activities that generate money. So we are talking about business that can be profitable and based on and turning the condition to a better situation, to a better condition. So I think this is the point. We need to use these big movements, these multilateral arrangements, to identify ad hoc mandates so that we can internalize in our countries, not only in Brazil, in all countries. In a way, we will have the mandate alive so that we, the technical people, the people with on the floor of the factory, we will have the mandates to keep doing that and to keep pushing for that in the local with the local authorities, and this will make us make the change happening. So
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We are now reaching the end of this panel. We had some very discussions today on how to connect people and companies and the public sector and the private investors with the ocean agenda, to make them all aware of the importance and to make more reality on daily businesses, investments, and so on. We also heard from Alexander the experience and all the framework on provided by UNESCO, particularly on the ocean issues and the importance for financial institutions such as IDFC. We heard the examples of Brazilian National Development Bank, BNDES, which the Blue Oceans program, which is quite pioneer in Brazil. We look forward to seeing in the next future companies, and not only companies. BNDES could be a pioneer issuing some ocean and blue bonds, for instance, for deploying in projects in Brazil. I think that the World Bank started with Seychelles, if I'm not right, I'm not wrong. But I think it could be something that could be embedded, that the investment plans of companies, investors, financial institutions, not only in Brazil, but also in our dear institutions from IDFC countries. And we look forward to seeing these developments in the future. I would like to thank you so much for your presence here today, and look forward to continue these discussions and in the next forum with our development banks sharing this space with us, and sharing also their experiences, looking to the future, the financing of the Blue Ocean. Thank you so much.
well done. Esse é meio estranho, né?